definitely want to be careful. There we go. Now we're going. You definitely want to be careful with paying too much. So I got this on a Black Friday sale. It was a great deal. It looks like the YouTube stream is now working. And for those of you just tuning in on YouTube, we are going to unbox and do some initial setup here with the Atari VCS. And we're going to see how it works here. And I'm going in blind with this. This is nothing new. You've probably seen reviews of this already if you're in the mini PC and retro space, as I am. But I was not buying this at the price that it was selling at, and now I was like, oh, this is a pretty good deal. So I figured I would pick one up. Now, how do we get it out of the box here? I got that undone. I see. Oh, it's got like a multiple thing. Here, I'll give you the other camera. It's got a multiple thing here. So let's see. So there's a box. There is another box. There's lots of boxes in here. It's like one of those Russian dolls. So I'm guessing this is where the computer part is located. It's actually pretty heavy. And then there's another box here. So why don't we take a look at each of these boxes. And they have asteroids printed on them from the old classic Asteroids game. All right. So yeah, let me pull up my chat because there's some great topics here. And I got to just send the text to somebody too. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to, it's been one of those days I could not get started. All right. Okay, so let's open this stuff up here and see what we've got. So this is the littlest box in the mix. And it's kind of a neat kit. So one of the things that I've been intrigued about since I saw this first announced is these controllers. So this is a modern interpretation of an Atari controller, and I can tell you already I'm disappointed. It feels rather flimsy. Unless it needs to get tightened up or something, I don't know. It just kind of, it just feels a little loose to me. Here, I'll give you the overhead. I was expecting this to feel more like a real Atari controller. Atari controllers had that stiffness to them. And I have, by the way, I apologize, I'm so casual today, but I've got two more real ones back there. And this doesn't feel like that at all. That's kind of a bummer. It feels like, you know, a cheap controller. It does have more buttons, though. It's got one on the side here and one up here. And this is a button. Oh, it lights up. That's pretty cool. And you got some other buttons at the bottom here. But not impressed. It does, though, come with like a really long USB cable. And it is wireless, too. But that's a nice long USB cable for the controller. All right. Let's see what else we've got in here. And why the heck isn't my chat starting up here? There we go. All right. So that's the controller number one. I'm going to add to my pile of boxes on the ground here. And controller number two, I got to say hello to some folks here. William Wilkinson is here. Brad is here. Chad is here. Brad and Chad. Simon is here. Joseph did not know this thing. Yes, and they were liquidating them around Black Friday, but they're still selling them. So it's oh, I forgot my little chat window here. Let me put that up real quick. Where is it? There we go. I'll put this one up. All right. So who have we had so far? All right. Let's go back and start this again. So we have William Wilkinson. There we go. We have Simon. We have Brad and Chad. Sorry, I loaded the wrong template for my live stream today, so I didn't have any of my stuff set up here. Bayside got one too. Black Friday deal. Me too. Yeah, and I got some more RAM. So you can upgrade the RAM on this too. So I've got some DDR4 here. It only comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So we're going to expand it to 16, at least on mine. Yes, and nobody believed it was ever going to happen, and here it is. It is Casual Monday. And Robert, I've got one too. In fact, I've got a modded one that I can plug into my composite TV. Random Max said, not, yeah. we're not off to a good start here. We'll see how it comes out. And we'll see what they offer on this. I don't even know what we get in this thing. Ned Dredd is here. I'm going in blind with this one. I've heard about it. I've read about it. Yeah, people love my cap. My brother got this for me for the holidays. Maybe for my birthday. Yeah, he got it for me my birthday recently. It's a really nice, high-quality hat. I should get a Lon.TV hat that looks like that. Yeah, so if you're looking for an Atari gift, the one that I would recommend, especially if you have family who have Atari cartridges laying around, you know, the 2600 cartridges, the Atari 2600 Plus I think is awesome. I reviewed it last year. You can find my video on the YouTube channel, but also on Amazon. And it's an emulation console, but it works with your original cartridges. And you just plug them in and they work. It's amazing. But the system feels like a real Atari does. It's really neat. Like the controls feel the same. It's really well put together. All right, this is the modern controller they include with it. A really bad D-pad. We'll see how it controls when we put everything together. But it's got that Atari look to it. And I don't know if you can see, but it's not USB-C. Neither one of these are. These are micro USB. This shows you the era they were created in. So, yeah, the controllers, I was more excited about this one, and I'm very disappointed with how this feels. But I'm hoping that I'll figure it out. Hey, Dan Savage is here. Little known fact. This logo was designed by an artist in the town next over from me. And it's iconic. The team has not existed for like 30 years, but the logo survives. A bunch of folks on Amazon leaving some chats here. Roger P. wants to know that I check out the 7800 Plus. I have not, primarily because I never owned one, so I don't have any real like nostalgic base on that front. And they have another long USB cable for the controller here too. So I did not pick that up, but those who have been very favorable to it. And I should also mention that Himali and Mr. Sniff are popping in here too. All right, so now down to business here. This is the console itself. And I think what we'll do is we'll boot it up like as is, just to get that experience, and then we'll upgrade it. That's my plan. And Brad is also a fan of the Whalers cap. Yeah, I like this hat. I get a lot of compliments on this hat, like more than I've ever had for any other hat. Trent Curtis is here. So hey, Trent, I checked the shipping. It's still on its way. This happened last year. Everything got like stuck. Trent was one of our auction winners the other night. And all the stuff that I sent out a week ago is still transiting. So this is the console. It actually feels a bit Atari-like in its look and feel here. Now this is different than the Atari 2600 Plus that I was just talking about. But it's actually, oh wow, this is actually real wood. It said materials like wood on the front, on the box, like what the materials were. I'm like, that can't be wood, but it's an actual piece of wood. That's really cool. The real one didn't even have real wood. And here's what you got in the back. They do recommend connecting it to Ethernet. My guess is they didn't make like they didn't have a whole bunch of additional runs with this one. And so many people thought this would never exist, but here it is. And I guess to upgrade it, we've got to crack the bottom open, which means we have to take those rubber feet off of it. I hate how they put the screws under rubber feet, especially for an upgradable product. Looks cool. I bet you that Atari lights up when we turn it on, too. Very nice. All right, so let's see what else we have in the box here. We have cables, power cables, HDMI cable, and your power brick here. So I'm going to get this going. This is a 19-volt, 3.42 amps or 65-watt power supply, barrel connector, and it does support 220 or 240, so you can use this internationally. And apparently it does support 4K. So I got this, get this, I got this whole thing for 99 bucks. That's why I got it. I was like, I can't pass that up. And I know there was like enough curiosity on the channel, at least at some point in the past there was. So I said, you know what, let's get it. And if people watch it, they watch it. I was curious. You know, for me, I was just more curious about it. All right, so the first thing you have to do is stop. And then I've got, oh, there's like they have a streaming arcade thing. We don't need to worry about that. Okay. Yes, so this is exactly it. So once you start piling on all the accessory items, you're into that. So what I'm curious about is where this one, how this one performs versus what we've seen on some of these mini PCs. And it does have an extra M.2 SATA port on it. So you can attach 2 hard drives. The one that it has built in apparently is only 32 gigabytes. So this is really a system that was, you know, kind of designed back again in the early Xbox days. I don't want to say it's a decade old, but it's in that vicinity. Because you can see it doesn't have USB-C on it. It is all USB-A. And you get 2 USB-A ports on the front. All right, so we've got the power connected here. And we'll get my monitor up on the desk for connecting it up. Okay. I'm going to use this controller with it because that's, you know, this is an Atari, right? Got to go with the Atari. All right, so we're connected, powered on. Let's see what happens here. The Atari VCS, after all this time. And again, I don't think it's going to be long for this world. So this might be the swan song, but now I have one. Got some pretty noisy fans on it. They have just died down though. So it does like that whirring of the fan thing when it comes on. And let's see, is my monitor plugged in? I don't think so. Oh, it is plugged in. I like to unplug everything before I come down here. Let's see. Yeah, it's plugged in. There we go. So I used to have this guy come into my chat. Roger P wants to know, can you use it as a computer? Yes. Yep. So if we have time, we're going to attempt that. Okay, so here we go. Now I don't have audio on this monitor, so if we need to, we can run it through my video system in a little bit. Let's see what we get. Okay, connect your device via Bluetooth. Okay, so let me turn this thing on here. I'm not sure how I get this. Oh, there it is, Bluetooth. Is there a pairing button somewhere? If not, I'll plug it directly in and get it going that way. This is one of those things when you look at like what Sony and Microsoft do, they think about the fact that you just want to turn everything on and make it work without having to go consult instructions as to how do you put the controller into pairing mode and all that, right? So what we're going to do here is we're just going to plug the controller in directly to the front USB port here. They give you plenty of cable length. All right, we're good. So hit that. Okay. So, oh, this rotates. How about? Okay. So how does that work? Oh, the controller rotates. That's what happens. So A is select button. This is the back button. Main menu, context, and back. So there's 2 ways to go back. Okay. We're going to do English. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to plug my Ethernet in. That was one thing they recommended. And I'm doubting this has like Wi-Fi 6 on board, so that's probably going to be pretty slow. So let's plug the Ethernet in. Let me go back. Now it should be, there we go, Ethernet. Okay. All right, so here, here comes the fun part of our, okay, so I want to create an account, I'm guessing here. This controller is super sensitive. Now, how do we do it without a keyboard? Let's see. Failed to fetch data. Click retry. Failed to fetch data. That doesn't seem to be working very well. Did they already, they already kill the Atari VCS? Let's do guest. Hi, guest. Okay, update is available. Downloading upgrade in the background. So maybe that's why it's got to update itself in the background here. All right, so now we have a firmware update for something went wrong. Boy, this is a great first experience here, everybody. I can see why they're liquidating these things. Okay, so let's go to System. We'll go to 4K here. So this controller feels terrible. I can't describe it any other way, and I'm really bummed out about it. It feels nothing like the original Atari controller. That's what I was hoping it would be. The stick is so loose. Here, I'll just show you. Like, I'm not putting much pressure here at all. It just wiggles. And it picks up even with a little bit of movement. There's really no dead zone to it. This is not an Atari controller. Nedred only tunes in for the firmware updates. That's right. We're all about the firmware updates here. So Ravaging Wolverine says it's not far off from an N100 in benchmarks. So from that standpoint, I got a good deal. So part of what I was looking to do was I wanted to get like an emulation console for upstairs running like Batocera or something. So that's kind of my short-term goal here, is that. Now we just did this, but I guess we're going to do it again. Okay, so it's installing an update. And what happens is it drops me off the thing. And so I go into the guest account here, and then it rebooted. So we got that update available. Okay, so it's downloading in the background. Because you all just saw this. It just rebooted itself. And I'm like back exactly where we were before. And I'm plugged into the network here, so this should not be doing this. System updates. Okay, update failed. Maybe do a BIOS up to date. Okay, BIOS is up to date. Operating system, downloading new update. An error occurred while checking for update. And we are connected. Maybe it doesn't like my Ethernet. I try my other network cable. Oh, now it's, nope, failed. Okay, let's try a different Ethernet cable. I've got another one down here somewhere. Yeah, this black one here. Oops. Yeah, I am due for a major overhaul of my workspace here because it is just a total disaster right now. All right, let's plug in this other cable. So we'll try this one and see if this does any better. Okay. This might be a real quick... well, it's taking longer now. Please check your network connection. Okay, so now it's not getting the new network connection. Let's go back up to... If not, connect it to the Wi-Fi and just do it that way. Ethernet status on. All right, why don't we reboot it and see if that... Yeah, I can see why this is getting liquidated. John says this is a known problem. So how do you get around it? Maybe I'll try the Wi-Fi? I don't know. Let's see. To download the update to a USB stick. Oh, geez. All right. So maybe we'll just go ahead and take it apart. What I will do, though, it looks like there's a game installed, so we'll take a look at that and see how that works. But yeah, if you were looking for like the Atari console that you had as a kid, if you're on Amazon, I will put this in the carousel right now because I think this, unlike this thing, the Atari 2600 Plus is amazing. And it comes with, it works with the original controllers. You can check out my review of it. I did a review recently on it, or last year. I didn't have any reason to keep it, so I sold it, but I'm really happy with it. And it looks like, yeah, it's still here. That's the plan. Let's see if I can find the, they may be out of stock on those. Let's see. Amazon might be out of the 2600 Plus. Oh, they've got one here. Yep, so I'm going to put this in the Amazon carousel if you're watching on Amazon, the Atari 2600 Plus, because I think that one is awesome. And if you have, like if you've got a closet full of Atari games and the old controllers, you can take this out on Christmas morning and everyone's going to have a blast. All right, let's see if it, see now it's not detecting the Ethernet at all. All right, so I'm just going to go with this. Let me try doing the Wi-Fi and see if, bear with me, I'm going to type my Wi-Fi password in now. All right, so we're going to do the Wi-Fi versus the Ethernet, and let's see if that does it any better. If not, we're going to have to do the firmware update the USB way. And now it's trying to connect to the Wi-Fi. There's some connectivity issues here for sure. It is connected now. Okay, so let's see if this works. Yeah, it's dropping us back out again, just like it did before. Okay. Well, I'm glad I only paid $99 for this thing. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have to do the update the other way. And the worst part with this, I think they probably only made like one batch of these, so, and I can't even load the games up here. If I go to a store. Yeah, this whole thing is totally nerfed. Okay. Well, so much for showing you how that works. I'm going to shut it down, and we're going to take it apart. That's right. It's always going to happen. The Whalers will be back. Yeah, so I got this one direct from them. That was where, but Amazon had the deal also. So, all right, so let's kill the power here. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to take out my screwdriver, and we're going to take it apart. Now, what I've got, and I may have to go back upstairs because I think I forgot to bring it back down, unless it's in my pocket. Oh, it's in my pocket. Perfect. So I have a Windows boot disk in my pocket. And inside, so this is what we use coffee mugs here on the channel for. Inside my coffee mug, I have an mSATA drive. Only 128 gigabytes, but it should be enough to get Windows installed. All right, so let's pull off our feet here. Yeah, so Timothy says it doesn't appear. Yeah, this would not be a good crisp. So that's why I think the 2600 Plus that's in the thing, like that one would be a lot more fun than this one. And the 2600 Plus, it works just like a regular Atari does. You put the cartridge in. It has remade controllers that feel almost identical to the originals. And check out my review of it. Much better than this thing. And what kind of screws are these? These are like Torx screws. Boy, they really don't want you getting into this thing. And it's funny because they push its upgradability, but they use Torx screws on it. So I just got to find the right bit that fits. Not that one. But it is upgradable and it is a PC. But I'm feeling like, you know, the price I paid for it was fine. By the way, I love this screwdriver. This thing's been awesome. But sometimes it doesn't have enough juice to actually unscrew things. Like right now. It's like it's getting stuck, so I'm going to have to use it like a regular screwdriver. It could take me the last mile here. All right, so we're going to do two things to the system here. We're going to install more RAM, and we're also going to put in a hard drive. Yeah, these screws are tighter than my little screwdriver can handle here. And I'll put the screws in this plastic thing here so we don't lose them. Yeah, so this is not the nostalgia trip that I think they were intending. And as such, I don't think this product succeeded very well. But I'll give them credit because they started with this crowdfunding campaign, and this was a time when like none of the crowdfunding retro projects were working, and they managed to actually make it. So they do get some credit for that. All right. So, all right, good stuff. So this is bare bones. I think they're all the same configuration now. Oops, they all come in with what we have here. So now I got to figure out how to detach the lower section here from the rest of the case. It looks like there's a seam on this. I got all the screws out. Yeah, I see a seam. So I'm going to grab my little spudger that should be in. Of course, it's not in here anymore, is it? I have to go to my toolkit and get a spudger out. Now I should add again that I only paid $99 for this, so it's not a total bust here. But I'm not sure how to take it apart, so I'm going to go look up some instructions. Perhaps it is moving a little bit. And there was another chat here. Some people have one of these things. We're going to take off the plastic sides before. Oh, okay. So the plastic sides have to come off first. Oh, I see. So are these sides here? It does have some pretty good tolerances, I'll give you that. And it looks like they've got like a little warranty. Like there's a little sticker on the side here to show whether or not you've opened it up. So that might be holding it together right now. So ETA Prime did a video on how to take it apart. So maybe I'll look at that real quick. So there's apparently some gotchas here. So yes, I bought a new one, but I should probably pin this. I bought it for a very good price. So that was the allure here, and you're experiencing this live. So, so I'm going to put this in here because I held off on this for a long time because I couldn't justify the cost, and I knew a lot of other folks would get one and review them. And to be fair, it hasn't been. It's not like a total bust. They actually came out with what they said they would come up with. So from that standpoint, it's been, they successfully got a product. But let's take a look at ETA Prime's video here, where he does a teardown. Okay, so what he's doing, he's pulling off the front panel. Oh, okay, so he pulls off the front panel and the back panel, and then he did the unscrewing. So why don't we do what he did? Not sure how the front panel comes off. I'm trying not to break the wood. This is actual wood on the front. Okay, so the back comes off. Okay, the back came off. Oh, there we go. Taking the back off was what I needed to do. So we got the back off here. And then it opens right up here. And the front came, oh, and there goes the Wi-Fi antenna. I was warned about that, and I just pulled it right out. I can get it back in. Very short Wi-Fi antenna on here. So there you go. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to install my M.2 drive in the slot here. So they don't have a lot of tolerances for, for working with this. Oh, the Raspberry Pi 500 came out. Interesting. I did not see that one either. They used to send me stuff, and now they don't. Probably because I was critical of the Pi 5 in the sense that it's so expensive that it doesn't kind of make sense anymore. All right, so we're going to put this in here, and then I guess that's the screw we'll use. So let's do that. And they have very tight screws on here. And this is only a 128 gigabyte drive, is all I had kicking around, so we'll just go with it. And you know what? I don't have one of those little screws that props this thing up with. That's what they're looking for in here. So it's going to be like, not ideal, but it'll be good enough. It's a cheap drive. I don't really care if anything, anything happens to it, but this is not the right way to secure your M.2 drive. Yeah, so my initial impression here is that if you were looking at this or a mini PC, go with the mini PC. It's going to be a lot less headache here. All right, so we got that done. Now I've got to figure out how to get this Wi-Fi antenna put back in, which doesn't appear to be too difficult because it just snaps in, but it's so tiny. All right, we'll come back to that because I need to do the RAM. So the RAM is, where do they put the RAM? I'm guessing under, let's go back to ETA's video. Yeah, they tape it down. So what's the Pi 500 selling for? Yeah, so I'm curious to see how this benchmarks when we get everything booted up. So we will find out in a minute here. So let me go over to ETA's video here where he shows where the RAM is located. I appreciate him doing this work for us ahead of time. Oh, so the RAM's on the bottom. So we have to get the bottom, oh, we got to take the whole motherboard off to get to the RAM. Jeez. Okay, so I see screws all over the place. So we got to take the whole heat sink off. That's a nightmare. Yeah, because this is all like completely screwed down. And I think that means we have to take the heat sink off too. Let's see. Maybe not. I just hate it when it becomes a project, which is this is now becoming. Maybe they should keep the price at $99. That might get a few more of these sold. And there's a bunch of like ribbon cables and stuff that are attached to the bottom. So it's, yeah, this is going to be another disaster in the making here, I suspect. All right, please lift up. All right, some other screws in here. There's one in the middle. There's one there and there's one in the middle. Yeah, I definitely did not want to start this at 4:30. I was like, you know, I'm behind. I didn't have anything ready to shoot today, and I'm like, oh, what can I do? Oh, the Atari's coming in today. Maybe we'll play. Oh, there goes both antennas. Great. All right, so I can see the RAM on the bottom. There is nothing holding this. Oh, there's one screw on the side there. Let's get that one out. All right, so now we've got, I'm just going to, see, it's hard to see, but the RAM's under there. I'm just going to get in under it and just get the RAM in. without having to take the whole thing apart. But mini PCs are definitely easier to work with. So it comes with DDR4 2400 RAM. And we're going to insert some slightly faster RAM. Initially, this will run at the native speed of the system. But I've got 2 sticks here. Make sure I got the right stuff. So PC4 3200. What's the other one I got here? I got 2 mix-matched. I got to look this one up now. This is how my day is going. All right, let's look this up real quick. Just gonna make sure I know what I'm putting into my system here before we go too much further. I have like RAM all over the place, and so I found this. I was like, oh, there's 2 sticks of something, and then it turns out this is the wrong stuff. Let's see, it may be the right stuff. We'll find out. CKM, but they don't put the specifications of the RAM on the sticker here. So CKMK085 2027. That doesn't give us anything. CB. Good news, I can see again. I got glasses. CBD24DAS. D4S. CB0. I'll give you the other overhead view here so you can see my my dilemma. Yeah, this was not what I was intending to do today. Yeah, I think this is definitely the case here. We've seen a lot of movement since this was designed. And right, this is a regular PC. So the Atari 2600 Plus is I think the better replica PC, for sure. Oops. All right, let me finish looking up this RAM here and see what I got. It's so funny what different brands like decide to put on the sticker or not. So this one has its voltage, but not what it is. I'm assuming it's the same RAM as that because I pulled it out of a system that I was using. But this might be a quick video, everybody. And if only this thing would just have updated itself when I took it out of the box, we wouldn't be here right now. Okay. This is DDR4. 2400. Okay, so this is a different speed. So I think what I'm going to do is just run it at the native 2400 megahertz speed, because that's what this module is, and this one, I'm asking for trouble here, but let's see what happens. It may not work at all. We'll find out. I guess I could remove that ribbon cable. That might be easier. I just hate taking ribbon cables out because I hate putting them back in. Okay, so, but I wanted to get this up to 16 gigs so we could do an actual benchmark on it. And it may be that I have to go and hunt around for more memory because we may run into trouble with compatibility. Because I'm mixing 2 different types of RAM together, which is a no-no. All right, so that is back together. We'll get our ribbon cable reinstalled here. It is upgradable, though. You just have to take the whole darn thing apart to upgrade it, but right now this is stuck. Right now the ribbon cable is stuck. It's not fully inserted. There we go. Okay. All right, That's in. Okay. So we'll screw everything back down. And one of my other faults is that when I was a kid, I was one of these impatient kids that I wanted everything to be working right when I installed everything. And so here we go. All right, so that is there. Let's get these screws back in. These are all torque screws throughout the whole system here. And my screwdriver can't handle the torque required to get this get these screws tightened up. Yeah, so I think since Atari came up with this idea, they've moved in a different direction. And that direction, of course, are these emulation consoles that they came up with. So they just released the Atari 7800 Plus, which I don't think will sell as well as the 2600 Plus. And if I'm not mistaken, the 2600 Plus, maybe the 2600 Plus does the 5600 also, because everybody had a 2600 in the 80s, like everybody had one. And so why I think the 2600 Plus did so well last year, and presumably this year too, is that you get all of the old games that you played with your siblings with as a kid. They all work on it. You just take those cartridges out and pop them in the 2600 Plus and they work. This thing was like, this was their attempt to try to revitalize the brand, which I don't think they needed to do in the end. All right, so I have a screw left over. Where did that one go? Maybe it goes in here? Maybe it goes over there. Not there, maybe here. Nope. That slides right in. Let's see, one there, one there. Oh, got an extra screw. Okay, oh, there, I see where it goes, so down here. And after all of this, you know it's not going to work when I turn it back on. Okay. All right, so now I got to find where this thing goes. Oh, shoot. There was like two. Okay, that goes there. All right, so that goes there, and then I got these two little washers here, and that screw goes down on top of that. And that's the light for the Atari thing in the front. And hopefully it'll all work when we're done here. Thank you, RandomX. It could work as a Plex server. The only issue is going to be transcoding, because this is not even like, this is like a Ryzen something or other, but it's not like the more modern Ryzens. So I would say yes, as long as you're not transcoding. And if you are, then it ain't gonna work. And as Mark Smith says, yeah, you got 3 screws left. What could go wrong? Yeah, it's fine. We have an airplane with 3 extra screws. It'd be fine. Okay, so that goes back in there. Let's tighten that back up. Then I got to attach the stupid antennas again. Oh, this is a nightmare, because these are like so small, and they pop right out. Like the second you open up this case, they just come right out. Now the good news is they're not soldered on, so you just have to put them in the thing. But my big clunky fingers, just get a kid down here to put these things back in. The kid that would be good at this is not here right now, so that's why I'm doing this myself. Now I could just go not attaching the antennas and just use the Ethernet. So it'll still pick that up. But one of you warned me about it. You said, hey, be careful of the Wi-Fi antenna. And did I listen? No. pulled them right out of there. And they don't stick in very well. They don't like pop in. They're supposed to. I need to get like a little tweezer out. But I think what I'll do here, I'm just going to put it back together sort of like this for now. And then we'll see how we do when we boot it back up again. So I have a feeling we're going to have some problems when we turn this thing back on. But I do think the wood grain is pretty cool. Wherever that piece went. It's somewhere around here. Okay. So now we've got it like back to where it was. So why don't we see if it boots with the RAM. Here's my wood grain. Here's the wood grain piece. That goes on the front here. And then we'll screw it all back together once we verify that it's working okay. Okay, so where did the power cord go? So I'm like that guy on The Verge who was like building the PC, except I didn't build this one, like somebody else did. So I can't be held responsible for all of that. Let me make sure I got the right power supply here. 19 volts. Yes. Zzz. And I'm going to plug the Ethernet in. Now our short-term goal here is just to make sure it boots back up. And then if it does boot back up, what we'll do then is we'll stick in the, I'll put it back together, and we will boot it up to Windows and get that going, maybe run a benchmark or two. And I may not have time to do much else after that because I got to feed people. I have very hungry children. Okay, here we go. All right, fan's running. That's not a good sign. Oh. All right, so it did work. So it took the RAM. We'll see if it locks up. Wouldn't it be funny if it started updating now? That'd be hysterical. Yeah, I may not like this RAM. Nope, it did. Okay. So we we upgraded the RAM on the VCS, and I disconnected the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antenna. So that's the end of that. So we gotta plug in directly here for a little while until I get those antennas reattached. I need my daughter with her little fingers to come down here and fix that part. All right. I don't think this is a piece of junk by any means. I appreciate the fact that they were able to make it in the first place because nobody thought it was going to happen. Now, the next step will be, after the updates fail again, let's see, maybe it works now. So the biggest problem with this thing, if you're just tuning in, is that it doesn't update itself without having to go through an arduous process. So what you're going to see here is it's going to say, something went wrong, try again later, and you're pretty much screwed. So what we're going to do next is the following. We are going to, yeah, Random Max told me about that. Yeah, it is a decent mini PC. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut it down. And what we're going to do next is boot Windows up on it. Now I installed an M.2 hard drive. We have to get into the BIOS. So to do that, we're going to need to attach a keyboard. And so we're going to, of course, attach my Lenovo keyboard here, which I love. And we're going to throw that into the USB port here. It's got a little wireless dongle thing. And let's look up how to... And we're going to take my... So I have... what I have done ahead of time is I put a Windows disk image on this drive here. So we're going to pop that in the back. All right, so we're going to power on the console. We have to hit escape during startup. So the keyboard is on. Hit the power button. And somehow I'm going to put this thing back together again. We'll see. All right, I'm hitting the escape key. Escape, 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 escape. All right, we're in the BIOS. So now I'm going to go to Boot Manager. And we're going to boot off of the USB disk 3.0. And that should get us to Windows now. How cool is this going to be to see the Atari logo with the little Windows thing spinning there? If that's what we're going to get, I don't know. It is booting. I see the drive blinking. This is a really slow USB drive, so this could take a while, but at least we'll get it going, and we'll see how much time we have. But it is trying. And the Ouya, now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Here it goes. There's a little Windows spinny thing. All right, this is a good sign. We got Windows going. Now, I don't have a product key for Windows because this doesn't have a Windows license. By the way, you get a Windows license with a mini PC if you have that. All right, so now we got to be really careful about what drive we put this on. So we need to select the SSD that I put on there. I'm just going to put Windows 11 Home on this. And I'm going to click Accept. And if I'm really invested in trying to get a little bit more performance out of it, I might try to get some faster RAM, but probably not. Okay, so Super Bros says, if I don't disable the eMMC, it's going to be a bad time for me. Now, I should be listening to everybody first, but you know me, everybody. Okay, so disk 1, I'm assuming, is my, and by the way, I have like a whole bunch of stuff. Oh boy, which one is it? Yeah, you're right. You're right. So disk 0, I think, is the one that I just installed. Because disk 1 does not look like it has a lot of space. But I see the disk 0 has the space that I think it should have. So I'm totally going to screw this thing up completely, aren't I? I'm going to delete that partition. And I'm going to delete, not that one. I'm going to delete this partition. And I'm going to install it on disk 0. Yes, 128 gigs is what I put in. That looks like, you can't see it from where you're watching, but that looks like it is the right amount of space. Okay, so now I'm going to create a petition on this, apply that. What could go wrong, right? I feel bad at like having this thing look naked. I'll put this, see if I can stamp this back in here. Yeah, okay. All right. So now we are good to go. So we're going to put it on disk 3 here. There's an error selecting this position. Okay. I think I know what you were talking about now. Windows 11 cannot be installed. There's an error selecting this partition. Let me refresh, see if that fixes it. I got to format it, maybe that's probably why. Okay, so let's format it. Okay. Now you want to. No, come on. All right, who's got some disk part? Yeah. All right, so maybe I'll try to, yeah, here we go, install OS 2. Can we sideload Atari OS on any? I would imagine you probably could. All right, so let me go see what others have done here with the with Windows on this thing. And the good news is it did boot up at least. I could try rebooting it too. I don't know if that's going to do it. All right, so there is a YouTube video here. And I'm looking at the partition thing here. Let's see. So a lot of people are using like Windows to Go where you can boot it off of a external drive. But I'd much prefer to have it installed on that NVMe that I put in there. Somebody said to disable so let's try that. Let's reboot. And we will try something else. I'm not getting a lot of confidence here. This was the right decision. Yeah, I deleted everything on that drive. But I might have to do more to it, because that drive had previously had Windows installed on it. It came out of another mini PC that I was working with. I'll try to delete them all again and see what's going on. So the problem we had with Atari OS is that it wouldn't update. So the out-of-the-box experience on this is horrible. And in order to update the Atari OS, apparently I've got to download some USB thing, and I just don't get it. All right, so we have to go to the Atari Club firmware on the Discord. Like, they don't just have it on their website. Let's try this one more time, and then we'll disable the onboard eMMC and see if that makes it better. So I'll do that next. So I think for 99 bucks, if I can make this my little emulation console upstairs, it's a good deal. All right, so we're going to turn it off again. So we definitely have to turn off, disable the eMMC. And I'm not on the Discord, so I have no idea how. Like, I'm trying to replicate the consumer experience here. Is what I'm trying to do. And I'm not trashing this thing. I do think I give them a lot of credit for actually making this thing. All right, device management. I'm assuming that's where I go to turn that off. What's the password? All right, hang on. VCS BIOS password. I did not set a password on this. Seriously? Here, I'm going to paste this into the chat so you can just see how ridiculous this password is. And apparently this is the process now. So if you buy a new Atari VCS, this is the process. And this was brand new. I bought this one direct from Atari. So, and I get it. Like, this thing is not, you know, is not going to be long for this world. But this is the password. So I got to type this whole thing in. And I can't see what I'm typing because they have just the stars up there. But I'm going to get a lot of heat from the Atari community about this. But what I look at when I review this stuff is, wait, so somebody else says it's Piano 18482, that's a capital P? Because what I just found was a totally different thing. All right, let's see what happens. There's 3 potential passwords depending on BIOS version. All right, so let me start with this one, and then we'll try the other 3 if one of those doesn't work. But so this is my point, though, is that, you know, I like to look at things from the consumer perspective. So when you look at the marketing, and again, let me start over again, because I think what's been great about the Atari VCS is that it actually exists. Because nobody thought they were ever going to be able to pull this thing off. And not only did they do that, they pulled it off, and the company is still in business and actually probably in better shape than it's ever been since the 70s. Like, they've got, they acquired that company that's been doing all those reboots and stuff. Let's see if that, oh, that was it. Okay, so now, but that's not what I needed. Primary video BIOS, PCI, that's not what I was looking for. So I got to go and find, Oh, I got to type the password in again? You got to be kidding me. How do I turn the password off? That's the next thing I'm going to do is turn the password off. So I think Atari's in a really good place right now. And they actually brought this thing to market, and they kept it on the market, and you can still get one. But they were advertising this as the Atari console, but a console that can play. I'm going to turn this password off. But they sold it as something that can be a mini PC, and as we're seeing here, this is not a very good consumer experience, especially if you can't update it when you get it. And you see what we're going through right now to try to install Windows on it, which they said you could do. All right, so I'm going to put my new password in. Okay, so I have to save and exit. And I think now I won't have a password on here. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the problem with it, which is unfortunate because even the mini PCs that you can buy on Amazon, which are nerdy by design, are a lot easier to deal with than this thing is right now. And I get it. I mean, the brand is not the same, but the company calls itself Atari. They own the IP. They are making Atari consoles again. In fact, the 2600 Plus, I think, is an excellent product. So it's really cool. But we're hacking away here trying to get, and I'm trying to figure out how to turn off the, okay, it must be in here somewhere. So peripheral configuration, not in there. ID configuration. All right, so if I say, should we disable one of the two SATA ports? Is that what we should do? Somebody must have told me down there. First, if you activate the BIOS, the internal eMMC, so AMD, okay, so I have to go into AMD CBS, and then I have to go to eMMC options. Under what? FCH common option. Okay. eMMC options. Can I turn it back on afterward if I want to use both? eMMC configure disable. Okay, and I got to make sure that we go back to HS400. I'm going to take a picture of that setting so I know what to come back to. What time is it? Oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble soon. All right, so let's take a picture of that so I have that as a disabled. All right, so now I'm going to save and exit. I can't save and exit here. Okay, so back out of there, exit. Exit saving changes, yes. Okay, so now we'll reboot into our thing here. But I think Atari's come a long way. And thank you, Super Bros, for helping me out with that. And I totally missed that chat earlier, and because I was trying. My wife says I have this problem. I try to fix everything myself before asking for help. That sound familiar to anybody on the chat? Okay, so USB. Let's try this again. Actually, I've made a deal to add a tab. Oh, that's cool. I mean, yeah, why not try to squeeze some more life out of it? I think, again, I don't think it's a bad system. I think the industrial design is nice. I like the wood panel here. And I'll put it all back together before I do the final review. I like the way it looks. I think it looks pretty cool. Like if you were to picture like the 2024 version of Atari, it would look like this. So Chef Fox had some issues with his too out of the box. Yeah, I have a suspicion that they made as many as they were ever going to make. So they got the crowdfunded versions out, and then they made enough to sell at retail. I bet you a lot of them came back from retailers. Because like again, Black Friday, $99. I thought that was a really good deal. And I love the housing. I think it's great. You had a plumbing mishap for the same reason. Yeah, I don't touch the plumbing. I did fix the water heater, but it was just because one of the garden plant had grown into the air intake for our tankless water heater. So I was able to fix that without having to take anything apart. But to my credit, I went down to the water heater and I got the code. I looked up what it meant and I was like, I know what this is. And I looked like a real hero that day. There we go. Now it's working. So if I'd only listened to you, I would have this working faster. Roman had an HVAC problem. Yeah, I don't touch electric either. I know where my limits are. But with computers, I'm like, I'm all good. I'll figure this out. So Atari even started making the Pokey chip. Yes, I mean, they're doing some cool stuff. And you know what? It kind of started with this. I don't think they made any money on this console, by the way. They probably broke even. But Digital Eclipse was who they acquired, right? But they've got now, like the collections you can buy, the Atari 50th collection, if you're an Atari fan, is amazing. The Making of Karateka they did, Tetris Forever just came out. Like, that's all Atari. Now, granted, they did that through an acquisition, but the fact that they can do acquisitions, I think, is amazing. And the Atari, I can't say this enough, like the Atari 2600 Plus, if you're watching on Amazon right now and you're like very nostalgic for the old Atari, the 2600 Plus, which I'll put a button to, this is not, so what I am featuring in the thing right now is not this. But the 2600 Plus is a smaller version of the 2600 console. And you can take out your old controllers and your old cartridges, you put it in the system, you turn it on, it works just like the Atari did back in the day, but it plugs into your HD television. It's amazing. So if you've got like, and every Gen Xer has got a closet full of Atari games. It's the best thing you can do with your loved ones, because you got that thing in the closet, you're back at mom and dad's house, and oh, I found the box of Atari cartridges. Here's the 2600 Plus. You plug it into your television, and you're playing games like you were when you were kids. Instant Christmas memory right there. Can't get better than that. Yes. So Lon.TV, great name, who I see is one of our regulars here. Yes, they work with the original controllers. So I took the controller from an original 2600. I plugged it in. It worked just fine. The Sega Genesis controllers don't work with it. But the controller looks the same and it feels the same. Now, this one, unfortunately, this is what came. I'm so bummed out by this because I have been admiring this for years now. This is the modern version that they came up with for this, and it's not great. It's super flimsy. Look how flimsy that looks. It's just not great. And I'll show you. I have an original. This is an original right here, like super original. It's even got my mom's twist tie on it. It's like an immovable object. It's so stiff, and that's what you want. Is like that's what Atari was. These really stiff controls. You had to work them. So this will not work with this without an adapter, but the 2600 Plus it does work with. So that's what I recommend to fill your Atari stuff. But I have this too. I forgot it laying around. I bought this for the Switch about 2 years ago now. And this is a great compilation. The games are on here, but they also have like a lot of museum stuff, like interviews with, it's kind of like buying one of those like director's cut DVDs, because there's so much more depth that you get on the Atari 50. And this runs on everything. So they've got it for PC, for Switch, for Xbox. So check it all out. It's great. Yeah, I think there would be some opportunities for that. And you know what? Like maybe that might be something they can do in the future, because the case is fine. Like they could get together with some manufacturer to make a new motherboard for the case, and run with SteamOS, and you've got an awesome PC game console that they could make. Yeah, so I would say at this point where I'm at with this is that, and we'll see what this benchmarks at. Like the GMK Tech G3 that we just looked at, or was on my product of the year list, that green mini PC is on the floor around here somewhere. Here it is. So you can get this for 128 bucks, and you've got Windows installed. You boot it up, you got Windows. No nonsense. What I'm curious about, though, is how this performs versus that, because there might be some better opportunity here. I bought this because I got it on sale at a really good price, and they nailed the look. I totally agree. And think how nice this is going to look on under my TV upstairs. Because what I want to do is I'm going to probably run like Batocera on this. That's my plan. And just have this be my retro console. But now I don't have my Bluetooth connected anymore. I may just get a Bluetooth dongle and call it a day. Yeah, so there's definitely some movement there. Proton has made a big difference on the Steam machines, if they happen. And I think that might be something to be excited about, because we're seeing how well it's been executed on the Steam Deck. Now, I reviewed, this was, gosh, back when I first started the channel. So I'm thinking like, let me look when I looked at this. So I was like really small. I'm still small. I'm not a big creator. But I got the Alienware Steam machine in. It was like a Dell thing. Yeah, 2015, so that was 10 years ago. And it was a great system. This was from Dell, Alienware, and there was a couple of other ones. You could buy them at like GameStop. And they had this awesome thing called the Steam machine. And you plugged it right into your, right into your TV. The problem back then was that the compatibility was just not there. Like the games had to be coded for Linux, and very few were. So Chef Fox has been running Batocera on his. That's exactly what I want to do. So would you say that like you could get like the PS2 games running on it, or is that pushing it? Because I kind of want to go, I want something that can run like PS2, that era back. That's my goal. And I don't mind plugging USB controllers in. I think that you kind of need that. All right, so now, oh, it's booting back off the USB again because I didn't set the boot order. Thank you. I was just saying to folks, I get so many compliments on this Whalers hat. I should add one to the Amazon thing. I don't know where my brother got this. Let me see if maybe he did get it on Amazon. I will add this to the, oh, he did, it is on here. This is exactly the one I have. Here, I'm going to put this in the product carousel. Because who wouldn't love a Whalers hat? The Whalers need to return. All right, so it looks like I've got to set the boot order here again. So let me turn it off. I'm going to pop the USB out, because we have Windows installed now, believe it or not. Drivers are going to be another story. But the good news is the RAM upgrade worked, so that's a good thing. Let me just add this to the product carousel, because if no one's going to want to buy anything that I'm looking at right now. But maybe you want a new 47. Yeah, this is the exact hat that I have, because it's got a 47 on the side here. So I'll put this up on the stream. You can have a hat just like mine. It's 30 bucks. Okay, so now we're going to reboot, and we're going to go back into that boot menu. I'm just going to boot to off the eMMC for the heck of it. Where'd the power button go? There we go. And we'll get going. Yeah, so I had gone to a number of Whalers games when I was a kid, because I live in Connecticut. And I loved going to those. The Brass Bonanza. I mean, there's so much like the Whalers had that were not, that were like no other team had. Who else had the Brass Bonanza? Look it up. Every time the Hartford Whalers scored a goal, you would hear the Brass Bonanza. Do, 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 do. It was an amazing song. And they would play it when they came out of the tunnel there, too. So cool. Okay. Now we're going. We're installing Windows. Finally. This might take a little while. I'm curious to see what drivers we're going to need to install on this too. Maybe I should look that up while we're waiting here. Joseph Bark, thank you for the follow. Yeah, so we're going to be pumping the Whalers hat now. That's what I'm hawking. I have a jersey. So of the Connecticut people here, you might recall that Stop and Shop, the grocery store, they used to have a little contest. They had a little box, and then there was these tickets you'd fill out with your name. You put them in the box, and they didn't limit how many tickets you could write in. So when we went to the grocery store, I would go in and fill out as many as I could until my mom or dad got me. So I won, and the contest was you'd win tickets to a Whalers game. So I won 4 tickets to a Whalers game. So my dad took me, and I think my sister came, and somebody that worked for us at the time. And they gave you a game puck. I got a Ron Francis signed jersey. Or no, I got a Ron Francis signed picture, but I got a Ron Francis jersey. A bunch of other like Whaler gear, and then they announced you on the loudspeaker too. It was so cool. I'll never forget it because I was sick. I had like the flu a couple days before, and I felt good enough to go to the game, and then like I relapsed when I get back. So no, I have not done a secondary fiber here. I'm still on the Comcast one. Believe it or not, has been super reliable. So I haven't really felt the need, and I have the Starlink as a backup. And I don't have to pay for the Starlink, so I have to pay for it if I use it. But if it goes down, I just throw the dish out in the backyard, and I got broadband again. I just pay them, whatever they charge a month. And so the Carolina Hurricanes, this is a point of contention amongst us Whalers fans here in Connecticut, because apparently they had some Whalers night where they not only played the Brass Bonanza, but they put them all in the uniform. And that was highly offensive to us in Connecticut. Because what happens is like every couple of years, somebody says they're bringing the Whalers back. It never happens. And if they do bring them back, it's going to be like Atari is. It's like the same name and logo, but a whole different organization, right? But that's what we're looking at. Yeah, Windows Me. We'll do that one next. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see it here again. And to be fair, what happened really was that, and this goes back to like 94, when I was in high school, so my junior or senior year of high school, I think it was my senior year, nobody was going to the games anymore. This was NHL hockey. They couldn't even get like a third of the place filled up. And the Hartford Civic Center was not a big place. It got so bad that they were giving away tickets to local high schools. So we actually went, as a school trip, went to a Whalers game on the weekend because they just couldn't get enough people in the door. And that's really, I think, what drove them away, was that the fans just stopped showing up. And, oh yeah, Stop and Shop's still around. Yeah, I wasn't sure if anybody on here remembered when they used to do the weekly Whalers contest, because that was how I got to one. I've been to a few of the games, but yeah, Stop and Shop is still around. In fact, we use their delivery service. So they either bought or started Peapod. So we've been using Peapod for a while. So that's a hey, look at that, Windows as advertised. Finally, the fan is hauling butt right now. Oh boy, so there's definitely going to need a video driver here, for sure. The fan is like, oops. And I think it's running so hard because the video driver is. And by the way, this is not how it usually is. This case, I have it still taken apart because I wasn't sure if I had to jump back into it again. So Jet Screamer, where was your Stop and Shop? Because the one in Clinton, Connecticut, which is close to me, that used to be a drive-in theater as well. And it may be thinking of the same ones. I distinctly remember the drive-through being there and closed. I never actually saw a movie there. But I do remember when they converted it to a super Stop and Shop. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the first of the super Stop and Shops that had been put in place. And in my area before that, like, you went to the grocery store, you bought groceries. There wasn't all this other stuff like the bakery and the this and the that. And so when this one opened up, it was like, whoa, we've got like a full-on super grocery store. Like, it was Now that's par for the course to have all that stuff in a grocery store. The bakery, the deli, all that. So the VCS, so they have something called Atari OS, which is a Linux-based operating system. That was the default. We initially tried to run that, but it needs an update, and you have to download a USB stick and force the BIOS up. Like, it just wasn't worth it. It will be done. I will do it. But I really wanted to see what the performance level of this thing is. My intent with purchasing this, I got this at a good price for Black Friday. My intent with this was to make this my retro game station upstairs. Yeah, so it's like they must have found some thing. So I guess it's Debian, as Red Leader says. Ah, so yours is in Groton. Got it. Yeah, Railroad Salvage. Rudy Vai, right? Rudy Vai from Railroad Salvage. That was the other commercial I'd see all the time. All right. We have a huge number of people watching on Amazon right now. There's 3,200 people watching the stream on Amazon. And not many people are clicking the hat. Like, well, who doesn't want a Whalers hat? I mean, they were the best. Gordie Howe. So my friend's dad had season tickets. So I would go with them a lot. And I couldn't go to this, but his father had a hockey autograph night or something that he got invited to. And I have a Gordie Howe autograph on a piece of paper somewhere in my house. All right, we're going to call this Atari because that's what this is. Yeah, so there's definitely going to need to be a video driver of some kind installed on this, for sure. And James says, so I think James, I'm not being critical of you at all. I really appreciate what you're bringing in here. I think James is a hardcore VCSer because it looks like he's done some additional work getting better thermal, swap out the thermal pad with paste. So you've done some work on your VCS. I think it's a cool system. I like that there's a real community around this who are not going to be happy with what what I've been doing to this machine. I feel like I've not been fair to it, but and honestly, like back when it came out and back when it was conceived, this wasn't something that was easy to do, which is kind of what we're in the process of right now. James has got a VCS data center, a cluster of VCSs. Well, actually, I think what would be cool with these is like you get a bunch of these in a cluster and have them generate new Atari 2600 games with AI. That would be cool. Yeah, and here's the thing. So Mr. Chips, guess what? I paid, I kid you not, brand new. This was on Amazon also when the sale was on. I would not be surprised if it happens again. I paid $99 for the console with 2 controllers. So pretty good deal. And now we're downloading updates. This won't take too long. I got the Ethernet plugged in, and I think it's got gigabit. Yeah, I'm hoping after it goes through this update process, we'll have that. And I just got to send a quick text to somebody here. Okay. We can do Copilot. Have Copilot make us some. Oops. Oh yeah, so it looks like it was $99 everywhere. So that's why I was excited about this. And so I like the way it looks. I think it's going to look great on next to all my other consoles upstairs. And my eventual goal here is to run Batocera on it and just make this like an emulation thing. So yeah, not 2.5G, although I probably could have plugged in a 2.5 gig USB thing and made this go a little faster. But yeah, the fans are, are definitely blowing on it. I will say though, it's got some good airflow in the back. Yeah, you couldn't buy a mini PC for that much that could do it. And so my hope is the AMD graphics are just enough to be able to do like PS2 and that sort of thing. I've gotten addicted to whatchamacallit, retro achievements, which they work like Xbox achievements, but they're all right. Good. I have no meeting tonight, and let me just check with my wife upstairs to see what she has in store for me. Oops. All right, let's see what the wife has in store for me here. Okay, that looks like a video driver installation right there, so that's a good sign. Or it's a reboot. Wow, so these things they were definitely getting rid of these this year, just from seeing all the different. And I do not hear any electrical noises coming from the device. Should there be? Or are others experiencing that? But I think like Batocera on this is a perfect match. And I have not reattached the front panel, but this is legitimately wood. So it even one-ups the original 2600 in that this is not like laminated contact paper. This is like legit wood. Yes, this might take a while. Well, what you could do, if we're talking about the Atari era, the way that you did this was you beat the game or you got the high score and you had to take a picture of the screen and mail it to Activision and they would send you a patch, which I never did. I took the pictures. I don't think I ever got around to sending the, because it wasn't like today where you take the picture with the phone and you've got it, right? I think we had like a instant camera, but I never got around. I couldn't get it to work with the instant camera. Like the exposure was difficult. Yeah, I will say though, I'm not impressed with the controller. I have to say, I was expecting that this reimagining of the Atari 2600 controller would feel more like a 2600 controller, but it's really flimsy feeling. Yeah, that's a rip. It was Rob there. He should have gotten his prize. What's up with that? Yeah, I think I'm going to like it. I'm definitely open-minded about this. I want to put it back together. We did get Windows installed. I'm going to do Batocera. So I'm going to do a whole little thing about getting this and what I'm going to do with it. And it's been done to death already, so I'm trying to figure out the best angle because when it came out, everyone in this space did a lot on the VCS, so I'm trying to find the right angle with it. My hope is like they could make a more, keep the case design and make a more modern mini PC that they stick in there. I think that'd be cool. So, believe it or not, we had a Kodak instant camera, and then Polaroid sued them, and Kodak lost the lawsuit, and they had to take the camera off the market. I remembered that. I have to look it up and get the full scoop. But I remembered that we had the Kodak camera and it became like worthless. And then over the weekend, I went down this rabbit hole. I never realized that Polaroid made an instant film camera for making a motion picture camera. It was a neat idea. Apparently, it sank the company eventually because they put so much into it. And by the time it was ready, that was right around the time home video became a thing. So they had like an obsolete technology. But it was fascinating how it worked because they had these. You should look it up. Polaroid motion picture camera. Yeah, so 1985, by the way, federal court ruled Polaroid, that Kodak had violated Polaroid's patents. They had to cease production and sales of instant cameras and film. And then they had to pay, wow, Kodak had to pay Polaroid $925 million in damages. But I remember my parents being really ticked off that they had this Kodak instant camera that they couldn't use anymore because they couldn't sell the film any longer after that. But back to the motion picture camera. So Polaroid, you bought the camera, and then they had this player that was its accompanying device. And the film was on cartridges. So you put the cartridge in the camera, you took your motion picture, and then you put it in the player. And the first time the player played a cartridge that had been exposed, it would crack open this chemical, and it would run the whole film through the chemical, and it would basically develop inside of the cartridge, and then you could play it back as many times as you wanted after that. Fascinating product. I never even knew it existed until I saw this a couple of YouTube videos over the weekend. It was pretty cool. Yeah, so this does have a paddle function. So the controller here does this, and this lights up here too, which is neat. But it just feels like I want it to be stiffer. It's just it's and I'm not trying to be like funny here, but like it's just too flimsy. Like it's very sensitive also. The original Atari controllers were much more much sturdier. All right, we're almost there. It's installing its updates. They're downloaded now, so it shouldn't be too much longer. And by the way, my first digital camera was a Kodak DC-120. So my first digital camera was actually a Kodak. They made some really good digital cameras. And for whatever reason, they got out of the business. So I think they were making, for a short time, they had partnered with Nikon, and they were making the digital whatever for, so they had these Nikon cameras that were pretty much the same as the film camera, but they put in a Kodak digital back on them. And so Kodak had some really cool cameras. So my first camera was, again, a Kodak DC-120. I bought it in 1997. It was the first megapixel camera. I still have all the photos I took with it. It's in my archive. And it was a great, great device. And it was such a liberating thing to have this camera that had no cost of ownership. And I think that was ultimately why Kodak stopped. They didn't continue in that business, or perhaps they just got outclassed by the other manufacturers. But I took so many pictures. So my senior year of college, I've got like, not to the extent that you would have with the smartphone these days, but I have, and nothing incriminating. I was not a very interesting person in college, nor am I now. But I have photos of all, like I was in the student government, so we had a bunch of events. I took a bunch of photos there. I've got like photos of everything that year because it was free to take the pictures. I did have to buy a compact flash card for it. So I bought a 15 megabyte flash card, which I still have, which still works, believe it or not. I actually boot my old Apple IIgs up with it from time to time. Yeah, it's cool stuff. So in the Amazon chat, Sierra Chapman says it looks nice. It does look nice. And I have it taken apart partially, so that's why this is loose. It normally is not like this. But this is wood. It's actual wood panel. Unlike the original, which was not real wood, this has real wood on it. And it looks a lot like an original Atari. It's pretty cool. And what we're doing is testing to see if it can work as a mini PC, which it appears that we're getting there. Yeah, 15 megabytes. So that would hold on that camera. So the internal memory would hold like 6 pictures or 8. It was like almost unusable. Because it had internal memory. And then you could put in the compact flash card. I think the 15 meg card held like 30 photos maybe? It depended on what resolution you were shooting at. And that camera didn't have, it didn't shoot JPEGs. So it had its own format, and you had to convert it to JPEG. It was like DCS was the format. And then I later bought a 48 megabyte card, and that thing held like a lot of pictures. I think almost 100 pictures on it. So when my wife and I were dating, we went to Disney World, and I bought the bigger card for the camera for that trip. I still have all the pictures from that too. It's really cool. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's cool. So I need to try that now with Atari. So I have the Atari 50th collection. And it does have, oh, that's kind of neat. So it does light up in the direction that you're pointing the stick in. Does it light up? Doesn't it light up when doing that, or does it? Let's see. Oh, it does. Yeah, it does. I see. So when you move it in a particular direction, it lights up, kind of matching the orange sticker that's on the original. It's kind of cool. I just wish it was stiffer. I think that's my big. I mean, the plastic feels a little lighter than the original, and it's funny because on the 2600 Plus that we were talking about earlier, they made a really nice. They made a really nice version of it that feels very close to the original. So I was expecting this to be a little bit more like of a stiffer control. Oh, Basic Pixel. Do I have news for you? Yes, they actually made this a couple of years ago, and this is actually a full-blown mini PC. The Atari 2600 Plus we've been talking about a little bit. That one is like a mini 2600 that actually works with the cartridges. Somebody else mentioned that they restarted making some of the original Atari chips now. So whoever this new Atari is the better Atari than we've seen since the 80s when they got acquired by Time Warner and they drove them into the ground. But yeah, if you go on my YouTube channel, even here on Amazon, depending on where you're watching, I did review the Atari 2600 Plus last year, and I found it to be an awesome, probably one of the best mini consoles that has ever been made because it works with the original games. They give you a cartridge with 10 games on it, and it's got dip switches on the front of it that you have to switch to determine what game you want to play. And that cartridge, the 10 cartridge, works on original hardware too, which is really cool. But the controllers feel very close to the original. The console itself, even the switches, they have that satisfying switch action that it's really cool. But we're getting a good turnout on the live stream today. I started later than usual because I had to go to the dentist this morning, had a bunch of phone calls. It's crazy. By the way, I missed Mo Zamboni, which is a great name for a hockey fan, who made a super chat a little bit earlier. So thank you very much for your super chat, and I appreciate it. I'm going to put a heart next to that so you know that I saw it. Okay. Yeah, we need an Apple II revival next. Although, I'll tell you what, I've done a lot of work on that 2GS. We had a live stream the other day where we put in the new power supply, got it back up and running. It's working. It's fully operational back there. So, am I 2 hours into this? That's a good question. I think I might be. Like I said, this day has not gone to plan. Yeah, I'm an hour and 38 minutes in here. But we're 98% of the way there according to this. And I think what I'll do when it comes up, and I'll come back with, so I got to go in a few minutes because I have a family who needs me upstairs at some point in the very near future. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop in my retro bat drive, and we'll do some retro gaming real quick, see how it all comes together. And to do that, I guess we could play with, well, this one doesn't do much for us because I wish there was USB-C on this thing, but there isn't. But I do have a new adapter, so let me go grab that real quick, and I'll plug it into this controller directly. And the reason I'm plugging the controllers in is because your esteemed host here disconnected the antennas on the on the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth when I set it up, so I'm already breaking it. So bear with me here. I just got to find my cable. This will work. Ooh. All right. I got to sign in here apparently. So I'm going to do my test account just to get this going quicker. And we'll get this going real quick. Yeah, but this is like, you know, a functional Windows PC at this point. I will say I feel like it's struggling a little bit at 4K, so we will run it at 1080p in a minute, just to be fair. Yeah, and just to bring this back up again, yeah, there is a USB drive that you have to get prepped to do the updates, because out of the box, the over-the-air updates do not work, at least on the one that I got here. The BIOS apparently is up to date. And I'm just going to set up as a new PC. You can see how many how many computers we have on this thing. This is the account I use with all my mini PCs when I test stuff out. Yeah, they got to totally do this. There needs to be a Steam machine Atari. And untoward, yeah, we didn't get into there yet, did we? But yeah, they have their own app store, so that's the concern, is like what happens to this if they stop. Granted, the machine is still functional, right? Like we can still use it because it's a PC, which is really cool. And kudos to Atari for not locking it down. Granted, it was a little bit more work to get everything installed on it, but I think we're there now. Just getting through all this nonsense that Windows puts you through when you get going. Sketchy's joining us. Good morning. It's good evening here. But yeah, I think if we do the USB bit, we'll do it. I'll get it back up and running. Maybe we'll do another stream. This might become like a week-long series. It's funny. I've had more Amazon viewers for this than anything else I've done over this holiday season. It's the most I've had in a long time, actually. Okay, here we are on the desktop, and we're at 4K. So I'm going to go down to 720p just to be fair to this little box here. So display settings, and I'll go to 1080p. The fan is blowing hard. All right, and let me check and make sure that we've got the graphics detected properly. Okay, it's Radeon Vega 3, so it detected the graphics there, so we're good on that front. I don't want to set up your browser. Okay, so now we got that going. So let's get, so this is my RetroBat drive. And let's plug this in real quick. And I might do a quick Steam install also and see if we can get that going. Now, we are at 1080p. I want to make sure my RAM has been detected here. So if we take a look at our system update, our system settings, we have 16 gigs. So that was the RAM that I put in. So we're good there. And let's load up EmuBat, RetroBat, and see how it works. Now what's cool about RetroBat, and this is one of my products of the year, is that you don't have to reinstall all your emulators. You got them all on the drive. So I set this up. It is portable. Oh, reinstall. I got a little error here. I got VC runtime is not blah 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 blah. Okay, so we got to do the VC runtime thing. Hang on. Let me get the error here again. See if it. Yeah, for me too. I mean, the fact that it was like, it looks like an Atari. I think it looks so cool. The industrial design is the selling point here, without question. This is not normally like this. It's just taken apart right now because we were setting it up. All right, let me go. I may have to install a fresh copy of this. Usually it's portable when I get things going. Here's another thing that drives me crazy about Windows right now is this backup nonsense. So let me fix that real quick before we do anything else, because this always screws up everything. And I told it not to do the syncing. Oh. No. Okay. All right, so now we got to put the runtimes on here. So what I might do is just go and grab I hate Edge. I don't use Edge. But I'm going to have Retrobat install all of its dependencies. Usually it just boots up on whatever PC I use it with, but for whatever reason it doesn't have the dependencies on this one. So we're just going to do the setup thing. And go from there. And while that's downloading, I think I'll download Steam and get that going too. Atari runs Windows. It sure does. I downloaded that Indiana Jones game is on Game Pass, so I downloaded that. Yeah, so I can say just like poking around in here, it feels a little more sluggish than some of the mini PCs we've looked at, but this hardware is old, right? Like it's, even though it's a new system that we just bought, it is not where all the other ones are. And we'll check the device manager too and see what's going on in there. Oops. What I'm doing now is to check. Yes, it looks like multimedia controller and PCI device are not found. So let's do a, see if we can find some drivers for this thing. So we may have to, there's an AMD system update also. That might do it. But did not detect those things. We have to reboot again. Let's see. And that Retrobat thing is taking a while. But I'm going to go sign into my Steam account real quick. And maybe what we can do instead is test out a benchmark. Okay, oh yeah, let's check the optional drivers too. All right, it's starting to feel like it's coming together, right? Oh, 7 optional updates, yep. This is .NET Framework. I bet you that was probably what we're dealing with too. I'm not going to do the cumulative update though. So yeah, this could be good. We'll see. So my earliest video game memory is when we got our Atari 2600. We got it when I don't even think I was 3 years old yet, because I must have been like 2.5. It's one of those things, you remember weird things as a kid. And I remember driving all over the place with my dad. This must have been like 1978 or 79. And I remember falling asleep in the car and my father going to all these different Caldor department stores looking for an Atari. He finally got one. And you have little kids, you wake up in the middle of the night, you come downstairs and you hear noise or whatever. So I came down, I remember coming downstairs and watching my father playing video bowling at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I was hooked after that. Yeah, I'll be using Balana Etcher on my thing there to get it working. But yeah, Space Invaders, bowling. Bowling was like a game that was on heavy rotation in the house, for sure. All right, let's go. It's still downloading here. Oh, I gotta retro bat, make sure I'm good. Let's keep that. Keep. I trust it. Keep it. There we go. So I'm just going to install this on like the C drive, then I'll boot it from the external. I'm probably doing too much at once here, and it's upsetting the computer, or Windows. I just want to do something so we can we can show something working before I have to go. Yeah, somebody was selling like Caldor merch recently. I think you can buy like T-shirts and stuff. So I don't think I've ever played Kangaroo. The other thing was like games were very regional. So I remember like going to visit family and they'd have like totally different games than you had. It was all what the stores wanted to stock. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'm just going to install this into like the C drive just so that I can get the other version to boot. Yes, it's actually putting all the stuff in that we didn't have. What I remember most about Caldor was the pretzels. I knew if I was getting a pretzel at Caldor, we were going to be there for a while. Yeah, I think that DirectX runtime was what we were missing. So, and I bet you because I usually run on my other computers, I usually run all the other stuff first and then go to this. So those runtimes probably get installed ahead of time. That's probably why it doesn't do this on the other computers I test. Yeah, I don't think I ever played Spider-Man on the 2600. I played Star Wars games, though. Empire Strikes Back was my favorite. I still have it. It's actually on the shelf back behind me there. All right, we are getting there. Something will run on this computer yet. That fan is pretty loud. It's got a variable fan. It's similar to some of the mini PCs of its era. They run up and down. All right. Hopefully this will be done soon. Because I've got to eat something and then I got to get on a call at 7. Hey, I'm the Brown is here. Yeah, we're still live. I'm trying to get something I can show you working on this. We're getting there. We got Windows installed finally. And now we're just installing some stuff. I just want to show it doing something. And then we're going to come back and do some more. We may have like a second stream with this in the near future. Just so I can figure out like what to recommend to people as to what you can do with it. And I don't have the fastest drive on this thing either, so that's probably contributing. But for 99 bucks, I'm not feeling ripped off. I think this is about what I expected. And you know, the difference is when you get a mini PC, all this Windows stuff is done for you. I'm fascinated with Bazite. I want to start playing with that too. I want to play with everything. Okay, so all the runtimes are getting installed now, so we should have this working in a second. I'm the Brown is a skilled bot. He knows how to get around anything. All right, we're almost there. Another We're installing like 20 years worth of runtime libraries. Oh shoot! I didn't mean to do that. There it goes. It started at like 2006, and now it's like up to 2010. Yeah, so there's a good chance this is not going to be tomorrow's video. I have some more work to do. My thought was, we'll get this thing set up on a live stream. It'll be great. I'll have it all ready to go. So now I got to figure out what I'm doing tomorrow. So I'm behind. I have nothing for tonight. I have nothing ready for tomorrow. So this was going to be tomorrow. So we'll have to see what I come up with. And I'm loath to cancel this installation right now. I would cancel this right now and just boot it off the drive, but I'm going to let that finish. I could boot it up right now, but then we won't have a good performance idea because it's doing stuff in the background. But we're almost there. And hopefully I'll figure out how to put it back together again when we're done. Yeah, I can't stop it. It's just going to town here. It's got a lot of assets that it installs. I wonder if I can just kill it. So I already have it on the external drive here. It should boot up now though. I'm going to regret doing this, but let's see what happens. There it goes. Okay. So let's load the one off of my drive here and see if it works now. Something should work at this point. All right. This is a good sign. It went into game mode. All right, this is a good sign. We got the little opening video here. And what we're going to do first, we're going to go for the gusto here. We're going to load up a PlayStation 2 game. Let's see if it can handle it. And I'm sure some of you know if it can already, but I want to find out for myself. So we're going to run a little PS2. Let's see what happens. Yes, it's an Atari that plays PS2. How about that? All right, so far, we got the loading thing going. The I/O feels slow, and I wonder if it's just the nature of the USB port on this thing. All right, we're getting there. Again, I don't have any audio right now, so let's trust that it works. And then I got to run after this because I got hungry people upstairs. All right, yeah, it's not able to keep up here. So let's see what happens when we get into the game. But just that opening screen there where it was rendering the car, it was like not full speed. And this is all default. Like I have not, this is running at like the native resolution. So it looks like the USB might be at fault, he says. I could try to put it on there. Yeah, my other issue is I don't have a lot of space on that drive. But let's see what happens. All right, so now we are starting the game off here. And we're running at about 83% of full speed. So it's about 40. There's always a little bit of lag there, but we're running at about 78, yeah, about 70% of full speed. So right now about 44 frames per second. This should be running at 60. So it could be the USB. So we'll try something different later. So I don't know if any others have had experience running PS2 games on this, but this game doesn't seem to be pulling its weight here. And this is not disk access here. This is just performance. Yeah, it's about half speed here. All right, we'll play a little bit more with that later. And I also probably need to hunt down some drivers and stuff too, so there's probably some optimizations here. I'm also running the RAM at the native speed of the system, not the 3200 megahertz, just because my modules didn't have the thing there. So, all right, let me do one other quick thing before I have to go. I'm going to run the 3D Mark benchmark on it, just so we have that as a baseline here. And to do that, I've got a bunch of Steam games already installed on this hard drive, including my benchmark tool. So if I go into Steam, so I'd love to hear, especially from James or Super Brothers in the chat, is it within the realm of possibility to get a decent performance level out of PS2 games on this, or is that pushing it? All right, let's go to storage. All right, just like that, you got Steam. So we'll go to 3D Mark here. I'm just going to run a quick time spy benchmark. And I recognize that in doing so, that we are, because we're not running the RAM at the faster speed that it supports, but it is not defaulted to, that will impact things a little bit. But I don't have two 3200 modules, so we're going to run it at its native memory speed. And that could also be contributing to this. Oops. Yeah, so I will, I'll try it with some other stuff. All right, so I got more to, I'm going to take a picture of your chat here. There's more and more stuff we got to do to get this thing working. So at the allocate 4 gigs of RAM to the APU, overclock the RAM. So that's going to be an issue because I don't think one of those modules can handle it, but we can try it. And get 54 watts to the processor. So that's, that could also be a contributing factor. And JTMT, so we have tested, in fact, my favorite little cheap mini PC, this GMK Tech. We can actually run that game you just saw on the PS2 at full speed, 60 frames per second on this little guy, with no other discrete anything on there. So it is possible. But I will need to take that advice there. An internal M2. Boy, this is getting to be a lift here. Because normally all this stuff we do on the mini PCs, we just pop it in there and run with it. All right, reviews here. I'm just going to add this to my notes. At least they let you do all that, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, got to repaste the thermal stuff too, right? You got to do that. So I will give that Atari VCS experience. So I got to go to that Discord. So I'll go there. I'll grab the USB BIOS thing, and I'll try that out too. And I think Catwo's got it right here. It's not the destination, but the journey, right? It's really a lot more fun just to try to get this stuff to work, and that's definitely the case. I agree with you on that. I am with you 100% on that. All right, and the USB ports on this are pretty slow. They're probably 5 gigabit per second ports. Oh, I could do that. The problem is the GMK Tech has only 1 stick of RAM. But I might be able to find, I could probably shuck enough RAM out of whatever else I've got kicking around here. But the GMK Tech here only runs with a single channel memory, so it won't give us the best performance. But that is PC 3200. That is a very good idea. I got to see what else I've got laying around, and I might be able to do that. Trent, I did check your tracking again. It's still on its way. I apologize for how long. They don't give me an option. So what I've been doing on the other stuff that I send out, and unfortunately Whatnot doesn't allow this, is I usually send stuff with the UPS ground saver, which is that thing where UPS delivers it to the local post office. And that one seems to be much better right now than the other stuff. This always takes a while to boot on a regular mini PC, so this is certainly taking a little bit longer. And James says it can run GTA 5, so if you put the effort in, it'll do it. Yeah, so what they did is now, in fairness, this was designed and put together and sold before they got into these retro consoles that they're doing, which I think are much more successful for them. So this is an AMD mini PC, but the AMD chip it has is what they had to work with when they were putting this together a couple of years ago. So mini PCs have taken a huge jump forward in performance since then, especially when you look at like those little N100 PCs and some of the other ones out there. I think, yeah, this one's a quad core. Is it a quad or eight? I forgot how many cores it's got, but it's got a lot of cores. But incredible graphics. They're great media servers. They're dirt cheap. I actually bought this for less than this, which is why I did it. I was not going to buy it at the current price. But I am going to join the Atari Club on Discord because that's where I need to go to get to get everything I need. So I am out of time, unfortunately. So, I feel bad because I wanted to show you the benchmark, but I have to go. So, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to stop here, and I'm not going to do anything else to this until we have another stream. So we will come back and look at that. This is going to be more of a project than I anticipated, but it's okay. It's getting there. And actually, you know, when you think about how locked down everything is today, the fact that this isn't locked down is good. It takes a little effort, a little shoehorning, but this is what it was like 10 years ago when you got something like this. You had to really work on it. I remember getting Chrome boxes where you had to do some crazy stuff. So yeah, I mean, as Super Bros says here, you got to jump through numerous hurdles, but it's all about the journey, so it's going to be good. All right, well, the good news is that it will do what it says it can do. I think it looks great. I love the actual wood here. I'm going to put it all back together again before we do our next stream. But we're going to come back to this. We're going to come back to this. And we will make this thing work. And I'm excited for that. Because my goal is to have this be my, my little emulation machine. Maybe. We'll see. All right, everybody. I got to run. I'm sorry to leave you hanging like this. But I think you got a good idea as to what you can expect if you get yourself a good deal, as I did, on the Atari VCS. And he's not here anymore, but there used to be this guy who would log in, and the only thing he would say on the chat would be Atari VCS. And I never got it, and I felt bad. And then when this came on sale, I was like, I'm going to get this just for him. So Atari VCS, it is here. And it works. And we've got Windows running on it. I'm going to try to get the Atari OS shoehorned. But yeah, Atari is back. They're back. They're doing their thing again. And it's exciting to see actual Atari products that are somewhat good. And the 2600 Plus is amazing. So there you go. All right, everybody. We are done for tonight, but we will be back again before you know it. Thank you all for tuning in, and stay tuned for more. Hey, if you're not already, follow me on Amazon, because I do stream there too. Okay, we will see you all soon. Bye-bye.